It's Thursday again, and here we are. Welcome to another edition of Buc What You Heard. My name is Gene. You can reach me at Super Heavyweight. You follow me, I'll follow you back. I'm joined by my co-host, Michael Pless. Hey, Michael, how you doing this evening?
I'm doing good. We're getting closer to football, so it's exciting times for sure.
Oh, absolutely, man. This is, to me, this is the worst part of the season when we're at a point where nothing's happening. Players are going out. You see, our quarterback is all over the country, attending camps with Devin Funchess, and you can just see him all over the place. So I'm excited this season, and when you look back to Jameis Winston's rookie season, a lot of people it was kind of split down the middle, the fan base. Some people liked Jameis, other people didn't like him, and they wanted Marcus Mariota. But I believe that Jameis was the right fit for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And what I mean by that, and I'm not just talking about his play on the field, I'm talking about what he's doing off the field, going to schools, working with kids, getting the community involved. And I think that is huge, for a franchise quarterback or the face of the franchise. It's huge. And the fact that he's going and going to all these different places and speaking it, just getting his name out there, he's really showing that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers once again made a good move to pick him as the quarterback.
Yeah, absolutely. And not only that, but he's a great player on the field as well. I mean, 4,000 yards in his first two seasons. I mean, that speaks high volumes right there. Limited resources. I mean, yeah, he's got Mike Evans, who's one of the top 5 receivers in the game, but not much else to go around. I mean, Cameron Brate, yeah, very good tight end. And he's had inconsistent running game. So he's really done it all on his own. I mean, but like you said, I mean, he was the right player for this team because what he did was change this franchise from in a losing mentality, and he's made these guys believe that, hey, we can win. We just have to do the right things and work hard, and everything will fall into place. And he's been that ultimate leader that this team needed. And I don't think you could say the same for Mariota if he was the Bucs quarterback. So
yeah, and again, folks, I love Mariota. I watch him like I watch
good.
Yeah, I watch him just like I watch the Buccaneers. And I look at him and I see, he's a good fit for Tennessee. I don't think he would have been a good fit for Tampa because he's not that vocal leader. He's not that person that you see out on the field or, publicly holding people accountable. He's that guy that, he leads by example and everybody kind of follows him. I just think that what Tampa was experiencing over the back end of the John Gruden era, the Raheem Morris era, the horrible Greg Schiano era, and throughout that, Bruce Allen and Mark Dominic, it's just good. It's refreshing to see a quarterback and a team that has a direction now. And to me, this is very important. And I'm going to draw a line in the sand and say, if you're not down with our quarterback, the quarterback for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, for the Tampa Bay area, the guy that the face of the franchise, maybe you need to find another team to root for, And I'm sick of this. I'm sick of people, putting it out there that he's not ready or he's not doing enough or he's not a good quarterback because, like you mentioned, two back-to-back 4K plus seasons. I mean, how many other teams in the NFL outside of the New England Patriots would love to have a quarterback that could do this?
Yeah, absolutely. And also you got to think he's made guys around him better. I mean, you look at Adam Humphries and the production that he's been able to produce. I don't know if Adam Humphries could do that with another quarterback. I mean, it's just he's made guys better around him, and that speaks volumes. I mean, you look at Russell Shepard and what he was able to do with Jameis. Same thing goes for a guy like Cecil Shorts. I mean, coming in, making plays. So just making sure everyone is accountable and they know their where they have to be on the field. I mean, Jameis does it better than pretty much everyone. I mean, outside of Tom Brady. I mean, Brady does a great job of making sure everyone knows their role and, where they're supposed to be. And he'll let you know if you're not. I mean, he gets on guys if you're out of place, and he'll be the first one to say, "Hey, we gotta do better than this." And that's the thing that Jameis has brought, is the accountability and the expectations have gone way up with Jameis Winston at quarterback. He's made everyone believe that, hey, we can win because it's like our shirts say. I mean, come with me if you want to win. Jameis is putting it out there and basically making this team a winning mentality. Because we've been losing for so long before he got here, and like they say, losing is a disease. Jameis, you said, "Hey, we can win too," but yeah, we can win too, but you just gotta have the mentality, and you gotta believe that you can win, and that's what he's brought to this team.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know if it's just me, but breaking down the game film, the back end of the season, you saw where Jameis Winston was, what he was doing was infectious, and everybody was getting on board. And you saw where the defense found themselves in positions to win games. They're learning how to win. And you hear that cliche. That's not really a cliche. When you look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the past, they have been in positions where the quarterback has left the field, the defense has the lead, all they have to do is defend the field, and they're unable to accomplish that. So what Jameis Winston is doing, it's infectious, and you can see it on the offensive and defensive side of the ball. I've seen games where I was like, oh, Jesus, we're getting ready to lose this. Yeah. Where's my alcohol? Let me get started drinking. And they win. They did what they needed to do to win the game. So, again, with everything falling into place from the general manager, the head coach, defensive coordinator, offensive coordinator, scouts, players that have been brought in, everything is coming together. And this is why so many people have the high expectations they do, and it's well deserved considering what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have been in the past.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just the tendency, the arrow is pointing up for this team, and you look at our core players. I mean, everyone is experienced or getting ready to break out, to say the least. I mean, to hit the prime of their careers, everyone's in that position where, for example, the 2015 draft class, I mean, they're all entering their third year. You have Jameis, Donovan Smith, Ali Marpet, Quallen Alexander, all going into their third season. And that's really where you find out who they are as football players. And I think all of them are going to take that next step forward to make this team a championship contender. And that's what we want. I mean, that's the ultimate goal, to get in the playoffs and make a deep run. And this team is more than capable to do that this year. So, yeah, I don't understand the criticism of Jameis. It's not deserved.
And I'm sorry, but it irritates me. I'm really sick of it, because I look at Jameis Winston's body of work right now, and I compare it to Trent Dilfer, who was a draft pick. I compare it to Vinny Testaverde. I compare it to Steve Young, when all these guys were here, and for whatever reason or not, they didn't stay here. But for Jameis Winston and what he's been able to do by turning a losing franchise around, with his help and the pieces that they've added in there, it frustrates me. I get sick of people talking about it. Why aren't you talking about other NFC South teams as opposed to criticizing your team and the efforts that the general managers put into getting this team to where they are?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and that's a good point. I mean, you could talk about the NFC South, and all those teams have gotten better this offseason, including the Buccaneers. So, I mean, if you're going to say the Bucs are going to fall short because of the division, then that's a fair point. To say Jameis is not ready to take that next step and be an elite quarterback like we know he's capable of, and saying he needs another couple years and it's not going to happen until year 5, I mean, that's outrageous. And then come to Cam Newton when they're not even the same quarterback. That's mind-blowing to me.
Yeah, it's frustrating. And fans, I'm a homer, but I'm realistic about the Bucs. If there are deficiencies or something that I see that didn't look right at breaking down the game film, I'm going to mention it. But again, you gotta root for your team. You got to be behind your team. And just some of the crap that I'm hearing, it just irritates me. And and they talk about the running backs. And you have to consider, again, just going from quarterback to running back, because this is an integral part of the Buccaneers offense is the running game. And, I think Jacquizz Rodgers and Charles Sims and our McKenzie, is it McKenzie?
McNichols.
McNichols.
Jeremy McNichols.
I got McKenzie on the brain. These guys will come in. They're professionals, okay? Mm-hmm. They're not playing flag football, or they're not coming from the CFL. These are professionals. They're going to come in and do what they need to do. And we've seen, based on what was done last year with the running game, they'll be more than I'd say they'd be more than admirable holding up until Doug Martin comes back from suspension. So I really believe that this team, the arrow pointing upward is great, and all they have to do is go out and show what they can do. And I believe that this team is in a position, having a head coach that has come back for a second year, the same scheme on defense and offense. I think the balance is there, and I think that this team will come out and take that next step. And you were talking about our 2015 draft class. And what I find really interesting about this class is all the players that were picked and where they've come in progression as Buccaneers. And I look at some of the other draft classes that Tampa has had going all the way back to 2003, and I have to tell you, these are special draft classes. I mean, what the general manager is able to do in the later rounds alone, just speaks volumes of what we have as an organization.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's probably one of our best draft classes. I mean, it ranks up there, probably with the 95 class. I mean, that's high praise, but it's well deserved because Jameis is in that class and what he's been able to do for this franchise. But then you also have a Quan Alexander who is going to take off, and he's ready to become the captain of the defense, and well deserved. And then you add in your offensive lineman with Ali Marpet, who's going into a big transition, going from guard to center, but he's more than capable of taking that mantle on. And then you also have Donovan Smith, who's got a lot of criticism as well, but
undeserved.
I think he's going to take that next step as well and become that one of the better tackles in this league, because he is really good. He does have some mental lapses as it occurs. I mean, he does some false starts and stuff that he's got to clean up. But I mean, second half of last year, he was probably our best offensive lineman, hands down. So, yeah. And he goes up against the best defensive ends week in and week out. Actually, a pretty damn good job. So, it's a great class.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, that's my gripe. I'm gonna get off my soapbox right now. But again, I'm drawing the line in the sand. This is our quarterback. I mean, for me, this is the guy right here, Jameis Winston. Not anybody else. And I'm not thinking about anybody else. This is our guy. And when people have all
fans,
these,
we had to get that off our chest, because it was just it was very upsetting to hear that this week. So
yeah. To hear it on the radio is just even worse. So I'm not mentioning any names. I don't agree with it. I don't think there's a place for it until he sets foot on the field. And if he does make a mistake, you can call him out on it. I don't have a problem with that. But the fact that he's improved, you cannot sit here and say that Jameis Winston from 2015 till now has not improved. I would call you a liar to your face. Okay. And that's just where I am right now. He has made that, progression in the NFL. And I think, the fact that, back-to-back 4K plus seasons, says a lot. So I think he's done a lot with what he's had to work with, and I think that it's nothing but good things for him this season.
Yeah, and he's also doing that while he's learning as well. I mean, he's learning with each snap and getting better from it. I mean, rarely do you see him make the same mistake twice. I mean, he's learning how to play this game as far as NFL quarterback still, but he's still dominating the game at times. I mean, when he's on, I mean, there's probably no better quarterback right now. I mean, besides Brady. But I mean, when he's on, he gets going, and it's hard to stop.
Yeah, and again, I'm this is a Bucs show. I'm gonna call it as I see it, and I have 100% confidence in what he's capable of doing, and I believe that he's going to go out there and show everybody this season what he's capable of doing. So I'm gonna get off that for now. I do want to jump back over to the running game because I kind of got off that and got back on Jameis Winston. But again, here's another situation where we hear armchair general managers, talking about what the Buccaneers should have done or could have done. Unfortunately for me, unfortunately for them, let me put it this way: I've got 100% confidence in what Jason Light, the product he's putting on the field. Okay. And he's not giving me a reason to say, okay, let me doubt you or let me question what you're doing, because anything that has happened over the past season and a half, it's basically been based on injury. I look at Vincent Jackson. The Bucs would have been in a different position had they had a quality or a decent second wide receiver on the field. That would have made a huge difference. Unfortunately, they just didn't have that. And because of all the years and years of losing, missing on the draft, and then, Jason Light is trying to turn all this around. Here you have these wide receivers that aren't, how would I put this? They aren't separating themselves.
Right.
They're all basically on the same level. I mean, I look at Russell Shepard. I look at Dante Dye. I look at, what is the other guy's name? I can't think of his name.
You got Martino.
Freddie Martino. Freddie Martino. All these guys had a chance to step up and be that number 2 guy, and nobody wanted it. And it ended up being Adam Humphries being the number 2 guy last season with the injury to Vincent Jackson. I think what they've done, as usual, they've made a huge upgrade, bringing in a Deshaun Jackson to replace a Vincent Jackson. So, again, if you go back and look at the rosters from 2015 moving forward, and just look at what Tampa has done in each position, a lot of positions that they've really focused on, they made upgrades. I would say with the J.J. Wilcox would probably be the only lateral move I would see until I see him on the field in this season, on this team. I would say J.J. Wilcox, based on statistics, is the only lateral move that I've seen. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. What do you think?
No, absolutely. I mean, you look at our weaknesses from last year, and we improved in those areas. I mean, explosive plays and turnovers, those are the 2 biggest things to being successful in this league. Now, the Bucs were one of the top teams in turnovers as far as generating turnovers. I believe they had close to 30, which was, I think, in the top 5. But as far as explosive plays, they were near the bottom of the league. So to bring in a Deshaun Jackson, to bring in an O.J. Howard, Chris Godwin, you add more speed, you have more downfield ability now, because you just can't do it where 12-play 80-yard drives anymore. It's just too hard. Right. You got to be able to get big plays and get down the field, under 10 plays. I mean, you just got to be able to hit those big plays and score quickly, to keep up with these offenses now. So saying that, I mean, they've improved by getting their speed overall, the offense is just more dynamic now, which is going to allow you to be more explosive.
Yeah, and again, if what we're seeing right now, what they've put together, if they can get that cohesion going into the season, it's going to be very scary for defensive coordinators to try to game plan for this. And I heard somebody who's a rival, basically a rival from a team that lost in the Super Bowl, and they lost a surmountable lead in the fourth quarter, and they finally lost in overtime. But I'm not going to put any names out there. But one of those fans, they were saying that Deshaun Jackson is washed. He's 30 years old. He's slow and blah, 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 basically. And, I'm just going to put this out here. But, that was a huge upgrade because you had Vincent Jackson. And Vincent Jackson was coming off of a knee injury, so you really didn't know what you had on the field when he was hurt, when he went out hurt again. And I really believe that Vincent Jackson was the key to Tampa having a lot more success than they had he stayed healthy last year. So I think that bringing in a Deshaun Jackson and then drafting a wide receiver has really put this team in a good position. But kind of jumping back to the running back position, I do want to make sure that people understand these guys, Jacquizz Rodgers. I believe that he's definitely capable of breaking that big play. I believe that Charles Sims catching the ball out of the backfield when he's 100% healthy is capable of making the big play. I believe that these guys are capable of helping this team and opening up that offense where you can't stack 8 men in the box. Now you have a J.R. Sweezy, who if J.R. Sweezy is what he was at Seattle, I expect big things from him. He was when he was brought over in free agency, that was a big time move at the time, prior to the injury. And hopefully we can see something like that, something from him, as opposed to what we saw with the offensive line when we brought over from the Saints.
Yeah, Carl Nicks.
Yeah, Carl Nicks. Yeah, that was painful. He is cursed.
But no, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. You stole my thunder. I mean, teams are not going to be able to stack the box, because with our weapons, I mean, we're going to be able to spread out that defense just with Deshaun Jackson on the field. You're not going to be able to bring the safeties down because they got to stay back to help out against his vertical threat. Same thing with O.J. Howard and Cameron Brate. Howard, just his ability to block is going to help us so much more because Cameron Brate really struggles in that area. He's not as good a blocker. So it's just going to help us more up front. With Sweezy, Marpet, you got Pamfield, those guys in the middle, alongside Donovan Smith and Dotson. This offense is designed to run the football, and that's what Coach Cutter wants to do. He wants to be balanced and he wants to run the football. You look at some of our bigger games, especially in that 2015 season, we were able to stay balanced and run the ball down teams' throats and use that play action game, which Jameis is so good at. He loves the play action pass. So that's our bread and butter. And I just laugh at people who say we're not going to be able to run the ball because teams aren't going to be able to stack the box. I mean, that's going to help you out so much. I mean, when you're blocking 7 defenders instead of 8, I mean, that's a huge difference.
Again, just go back and look at the game film from the last 5 games of the season, and you see where defensive coordinators, that's what they game plan. They stacked the box and said, hey, we expect you to beat us with your arm. You're not going to beat us in the running game.
Exactly.
And unfortunately, we didn't have the depth on the offensive line that we needed to, and that really was kind of a hindrance as well. But I can tell you right now, to all those people who are questioning the offensive line, you will be pleasantly surprised. Trust and believe when I tell you that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the O-line, just with Marpet, because that was our biggest weakness, was the center position. Hawley, Yeah, he's all effort guy, but he was just getting pushed back too much.
Yeah,
And now
he
you
was getting
put
moved around.
and you put your best offensive lineman at center now, and that's just going to make a big difference. Again, now this offense might take a little adjustment. I think personally in those first couple of games they might start a little slow, but then start to find the rhythm as they get going. Towards that fourth game. But I think the defense is going to be. I mean, defense is going to pick it up where they left off, and I think they're going to team early on because they have everyone coming back. Pretty much the chemistry is there. They know what to do. The front four, and we'll probably get into this later as far as I think my free agent that's going to make the biggest impact. It's on that defensive line. But I think the defense is going to be able to carry this team so the offense can find its rhythm, early on.
Yeah. And, just, when we're talking about this, I want to ask you, who was last year when you talk about 2016, who was your MVP?
MVP on the whole team? Or?
Yeah, I'm just talking about your guy, the one guy that you saw that was the difference maker. Who was your MVP? Whether it was on and let's start with defense. We'll go with defense and we'll go with offense, and you'll kind of see where I'm going with this.
I mean, defense, I gotta say Keith Tandy, because Keith Tandy was instrumental in all five, during that 5-game winning streak. He's a player that pretty much turned it around, and he really solidified the secondary. He made them more accountable, and he made sure those guys were in place. And the communication when he was in there was outstanding, and he was making plays before before they were occurring. It was pretty awesome. So I would say him for off defense. And then offense, I mean, I got to go with Mike Evans. I mean, because he just kept getting open regardless of the coverage. And I know Jameis was making the throws, but Mike Evans was outstanding. So
that one-handed catch against Atlanta was,
yeah.
I dream about that at night, one of my things. And all you listeners, if you're in the chat, let me know who your MVPs were from 2016. I'll shoot through some of those towards the end of the show, but I'd definitely like to see what you guys have to say as well. And kind of where I'm going with this is I look at these guys and what they meant to this team to get the team to the winning record, their first winning record since 2010. And I look at them and I'm like, well, what can they do to top what they did last year? Or is there somebody that we looked at last year that was kind of there, but they're going to make that big jump? And for me, it's going to be Donovan Smith is going to make that big jump. He was he did what he was in his second year. This year I have high expectations for him to do big things. So I expect him to be that guy, that that jumps out and silences the critics. Because what you have to understand is that I think we have a great front office. I think we have great scouts. I think the fact that they didn't go out and draft somebody to replace a Donovan Smith. If there was an issue, if they felt like there was an issue with Donovan Smith, they would have gone out and said, hey, maybe we need to see if we can get somebody in there to compete with him. Or in the offseason, hey, maybe we need to get somebody to maybe compete with him and see who wins out and see if we can get somebody, better in there if there is somebody available. But I feel like what he's accomplished, what he's been able to do, because DeMar Dotson was a huge disappointment for me. And I think it all started with him holding out, and he held out, and he got his money, and then it was like he hasn't been the same since then. So DeMar Dotson is kind of disappointing to me. I understand that the NFL is a business and you got to go out and get your money, but at the same time, once you get that money, you got to come back in and you got to compete, and you got to show that, hey, this is, I've earned my money. This is what I'm doing. But as I look across the line, he's the one guy with all the false starts and some of the penalties that a veteran or somebody who's been in the league as long as he has shouldn't be doing. This should be something that you see in the preseason or in camp. You shouldn't see this during the regular season, and you were seeing this during the regular season with him.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought Dotson would have been that consistent guy for us last year, and unfortunately,
you expected that from him.
Yeah, he was very disappointing. But hopefully he can bounce back again. He's going to be facing some competition. I think Beninock and the guy Leonard Wester. I think they're expecting high things out of him as well. So that's going to be an interesting camp battle. But I agree with you. I think Donovan Smith's going to take that next step. I really believe in the guy. He's in the best shape of his life. Really great shape. So he looks good, ready to go.
Right, there we go. So, again, we kind of got away from the running game, but we're talking about the offensive line, which has to do with the running game. So we're getting back to the running game again. So, again, folks, please, I think that Jason Licht has shown that fans should have a little bit of faith in him, a little bit of trust in him. What he's seeing as far as the running game, as far as the offensive line, he's looking at the team as a whole, because every year he's auditioning for his job. Basically, he has to make the right picks. He has to make the right choices. These things have to work out for him in order for him to be able to continue what he's doing. So, I'm 100% comfortable with him, going all the way back to the Charles Sims pick. It's one of those things where, I understand where people are coming from when you've had a Bruce Allen and a Mark Dominic, and you don't know what you've got with this GM. But I feel like this GM has really shown what he is capable of doing. So I'm really, again, whatever he's come up with, I'm good with it. And, they were talking about Doug Martin. Doug Martin was the second leading rusher in 2015. And keep this in mind. I'm not sure what happened, but Doug Martin should have been the leading rusher. Doug Martin should have been the leading rusher. Shoulda, coulda, woulda, I know. But Doug Martin he was competing with Adrian Peterson at that time. So, again, I feel like this guy, when he's got his head right, when he's physically healthy and capable, this guy is the guy I want on this team, because I've seen what he can do and I know what he can do. So, all the talk about him being a druggie and all this other crap, you know what? The general manager trusts him. So, you know what? You're not here to make any decisions. You might as well get on board and trust him too. If it's wrong,
absolutely.
it's wrong.
Absolutely. And let me just say this about the running game. This pretty much sums it up. I mean, what this offense wants is that running game to be good enough where if this team can average at least 4 yards per carry, this offense is going to be just fine, because what we're predicated on is the play action passing game. If you can have a 4 yard per carry back, or a multitude of backs that average, if you average as a team over 4 yards a carry, that's going to allow you to use the play action pass, because you have that threat of the run. And that's really all we need, is a threat of the running game against defenses. And if you can do that and be efficient as a running team, at least 4 yards per carry. I think we're under that last year. We're about 3.7. So if you can move that up to 4 yards a carry, which I think we'll be able to do, because the weapons we have on the outside, you're not going to be able to stack it. I mean, you're going to have guys, probably a box of 6-7 guys on defense going up against our offensive line, and they're going to be able to match that up. So,
dude, and let's not. We're not even talking about OJ Howard. Let's talk about Cameron Brate for a second. Right. Everybody's talking about Cameron Brate. What about Cameron Brate? Cameron Brate is in the mix. Trust and believe when I tell you this. Everybody talking about we drafted OJ Howard. There may be a 2 tight end set, and they're going to get rotated in and out. And I promise you, this is going to be people that realize, oh man, we got to play Tampa. Are you serious? We got to deal with both of these tight ends. That's their mindset. Because what Cameron Brate was able to do with all the schemes for him, and there were schemes for him because that offense did not have a lot of weapons last year. So there were a lot of schemes just for him. He's going to have a little bit more free reign when you consider you've got a Deshaun Jackson on this side, you got a Mike Evans on this side, you've got a Jacquizz Rodgers or a Doug Martin in the backfield. And then you got to consider Jameis Winston with his legs. I mean, we don't see it a lot, but when we do see it, Jameis Winston is a football player. Jameis Winston can go out there and get those yards. And I still laugh. I love this. I remember the comments about his 40 time. You know what? I laugh at all you suckers that made fun of his 40 time, because you know what? That 20-yard gain against Atlanta in Tampa, December 6th, when he got that first down and put him in a position to win, trust me, everybody forgot all about his 40 time at that time.
Absolutely. Yeah. And let me, explain this. The Bucs offense is a 2 tight end set. Their base offense is 2 tight ends. So what that means is the Bucs start 2 tight ends. All right. There's 2 tight ends that are starters on the Bucs offense, and that's their offense. They come out every game in 2 tight end sets. That's their base formation. That's what they run out of. Yeah. So Cameron Brate's going to be a big part of this offense. Him and Jameis Winston are as tight as, I don't know the analogy, but they're tight. I mean, they're closer than.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
So, they're going to be just fine. I'm confident in the running game. Again, this running game just has to be good enough. It doesn't have to be outstanding, but again, with the weapons we have now, it's going to be there. It's going to be there for this team.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what excites me, because everybody's pretty much, I mean, if you read some of the other articles, SI, you read ESPN, some of these other blogs, everybody's saying that once they drafted OJ Howard, that was pretty much it for Cameron Brate. You guys are in for a big surprise. Trust me.
Yeah.
You'll be hoping that they had gotten rid of him. But again, that's one of those things that, people don't understand. If you're not local and you're not following the team, you won't understand this. So again, it's one of those things that I'm excited about, is what these 2 tight ends can do. Not to take anything away from Luke Stalker. Luke Stalker was serviceable, but they've upgraded. Again, there's that word upgrade. They've upgraded at the tight end position. And as long as he can go out there, when toe goes to leather at the beginning of the season and produce, it'll all be worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I completely agree.
So I'm going to jump on here, and I do. Oh, wait, before we do this, before I get you guys, I'm going to get to you guys here next. But the next segment, I did want to talk about something that really nobody's talking about, is the head coach. And, Mike, again, Mike, as my co-host, this guy, he comes up with these ideas, and I love it. I'm really happy to have him on the show on a regular basis. But, I want to talk about Dirk Cutter. Dirk Cutter, second season as a head coach. And, we've not talked about what his performance was like in his first season as a head coach. So what I'd like to do at this point, I'm going to turn this over to you, but I do want to talk about Dirk Cutter and what he did and what he didn't do and what he can do. So I'm gonna drop this in your lap here, because I think that's kind of, I think it's great, that we talk about all aspects. I mean, we've talked about scouts even, but we haven't talked about head coaches. So we're gonna jump into that right now.
Yeah, I thought Dirk Cutter, I mean, just to get this team to 9 wins, I thought he did a pretty good job, but I thought he had some moments where he was definitely learning, as you could tell, especially early in the season. I mean, everyone remembers that Rams game, game situations where, you need to call a timeout here. And then at times just overthinking things. I think he tried to get at times a little bit too smart with his play calling instead of just doing the simple play. A bit too fancy at times. We just need to do this, make this happen. Mike Evans is winning his matchup. Let's go to him again. It's pretty much as simple as that. Cam Brate's got a mismatch. Let's hit him. Let's continue to attack the issue. And at times I thought he just got a little bit too in the game where he was trying to get other guys involved instead of just going to what was working. And again, I could see that, especially like the Oakland game examples, but that Rams game sticks out where you could just tell he was learning. But I think that's an area he's got to improve where just overall game management. I thought the team overall was prepared as far as every game going in. I thought the guys knew their assignments and they were prepared as far as that goes, as far as the weekly game plan. And that's another thing, getting off to better starts. I mean, this team has to get off to better starts as far as record goes. 1-3 the last.
Can I jump in here just for a second?
Yeah.
We've talked about Jameis Winston. I've sung his praises, but you cannot give the defense. You cannot put the defense on the field on the short side of the field. You can't do it.
Yeah.
That's one of those things. You have to protect that ball when you're in that position to make sure that your defense has at least decent field position to work with. And what I mean by that is when the opposing offense has the ball on the short side of the field, their percentage of possibilities of scoring goes way up here. But when you have when they're doing what they're supposed to, when the offense is doing what they're supposed to and not turning the ball over, moving the ball down the field, or if you cannot move the ball down the field, kick the ball off so that the offense has to work for it and your defense can potentially get that turnover, get that takeaway. So, we saw a couple of times that Jameis early on turned the ball over on the short side of the field, and you just can't do that. And this is one of those things that I know, just based on what I've been reading, based on what I've been hearing, that he's really working on. This is one of those guys that, Jameis Winston looks at game film. He looks at his own game film. So he knows, what I'm saying is not new to him. It's one of those things he knows what he needs to do. And it's just going to be up to him to come out on the field and execute like we know he's capable of doing, as that, that a national championship winner, coming in and doing what he needs to do. So I believe that Jameis Winston is that guy that's capable of doing it. We just need to get him to come out there and do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll touch on Jameis in a second. Let me just wrap up Cutter. I think he's going to progress this year. I think it was just, again, he was first-year coach. He made mistakes at times, but you got to give him credit as far as, that 5-game winning streak. He made adjustments, and it was not only on the offensive side of the ball, it was the defensive side of the ball. So there's positives and negatives as far as finding ways to help this team win, and getting them to 9 wins was quite an accomplishment, because with the deficiencies that we had on the offensive side of the ball, it was pretty impressive. So I thought as a first-year coach, he did a pretty hell of a job. Again, there was mistakes. Like I said, it's just at times he did this in 2015 as well, where he overthought the offense a little bit too much. Like, the Redskins game, for example, tossing the ball to Sims on an outside run when you don't have to do that. Just go up the middle, do a QB sneak or something, get in the end zone. Again, or throw a fade to Mike Evans. So, just little things like that. Same thing with his game management, but I think he's going to improve there. So I'm looking for a big jump from him as well. And I think he's admitted this. He's even thought about, taking away the play calling, changing, putting the play calls for someone else to handle that. But he's going to do it. I think he's the offensive guru. He's the head of the ship. So he's open with him. He's open with himself. He knows he has to get better, and that's what you can respect out of him, because he sees, what he's doing wrong, and he's going to go fix it. He's going to do his best to fix it. Yeah. So that's encouraging.
Yeah, and talking about Dirk Cutter.
And one more thing.
Go ahead.
One more thing. That was the biggest issue with John Gruden. he didn't know how to fix his issues.
Yeah, Greg Schiano was the same way. You see this play calling in the first half of the game, second half of the game, see the same thing.
Yeah, they're just very stubborn. But go ahead, Gene.
Yeah, and with Dirk Cutter, one thing that I did notice about him when he did make a mistake or he did have a deficiency, you never saw it again.
Right. Exactly.
He realizes his mistakes. And as you mentioned, that's a good word, stubborn. He's not stubborn enough to say, you know what, I'm going to stick to this until it works.
Mm-hmm.
No, he changed things. He made adjustments. And that's what football is all about. Football is about adjustments. You cannot stick to the same thing over and over again, expecting it to eventually work, because it's not going to happen.
Right.
So what he's doing, I'm very happy with the administration. And again, from the GM, head coach, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, scouts, so on and so on and so on. Everybody has their job and everybody's working in harmony to make this thing work. So for now, what I'm seeing, I'm excited about it. And that's the one thing about Dirk Cutter that I really appreciated, is the fact that he's willing to go in and make adjustments. Maybe I called the first half wrong, but I can adjust that and I can fix it and we can win in the second half. So, that there's that. And I'm excited about that. And I know that you had another segment that you wanted to touch on. And
yeah, it was pretty much, I mean, we touched on it. You touched on it a moment ago, just about Jameis Winston getting off to better starts, getting off to quicker starts. And I saw a stat this week, courtesy of Ira Kaufman. Only 5 touchdowns for Jameis Winston in the first quarter through his first two seasons. And that's just not good enough. I mean, we got to be better in the first quarter. We got to find ways to put the ball in the end zone. There was just too many times last year where we had a great drive to start the game, but it ended up in a field goal or a missed field goal. So we got to be able to capitalize, and that goes into, red zone efficiency, but just getting off to that better start. Just Jameis has to find a way to start that game off and just hit the stride going. I mean, full speed ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. And how many times have we been watching the game and we see a turnover in the first quarter?
Yeah. And
the defense is stuck on the short side of the field. Offense goes in and scores, and the Bucs are automatically down. And that's very frustrating. And that's what I'm saying about protecting the ball and, making sure that you're putting your team in a position to win. That's huge. And
now again,
go ahead.
That could go. Yeah, again, that could go to Dirk Cutter as well. Making sure he's giving Jameis the right plays to get into that rhythm early, finding ways to get him high percentage passing plays to get Jameis into a rhythm, whether it's, coming out like he did in the Carolina game where they just ran the ball down the team's throat on Monday night. If it's doing that and then getting Jameis more in a short passing game rhythm, we got to find ways to get him started early and started fast, because if we do that, it's just going to put us in a better position to win more games.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to, if you don't mind, I want to go in here and catch some of these comments. There's some really good comments tonight. And guys, thank you so much, everybody who's contributed in live chat. I'm going to start at the top and kind of go down, and we'll go through some of these here. Let's see. And we had our friendly neighborhood Saints fan who is happily joined and check us out. Thank you, Sean Williams. Appreciate that. Eric Moreno was saying that he met Adam Humphries at a training camp, and he's a very nice guy. I've heard that from multiple people how nice he is. So that's really cool that we have fan friendly players. I remember John Lynch took a picture with my son when I had called in sick from work and went to Pepinrood Stadium to watch the Bucs practice. So it's really good to see fan friendly players that are out there. let's see here. Rocco saw Planet of the Apes. He said it was good. I guess I'll have to check that out this weekend. Eric Moreno, nice shirt, Gene. Yeah, absolutely. Hey, go to realbuckstalk.com and get your shirt, Eric Moreno.
Mm.
I expect to be seeing it next week, buddy. TB Bucks fan, TB_Bucks fan, trusting Vincent Jackson last year was a mistake. Unfortunately, if you look at his history, Vincent Jackson hadn't been hurt a lot. So I kind of understand why, they did what they did. It makes sense to me. But, hindsight is 2020. Cecil Shorts finally started building a connection with Jameis when his knee exploded. Yeah, that's true. Unfortunately, those things happen in the NFL. Let's see. I hope Chris Godwin is our third receiver this year. I have liked him since college, and that's Stuff 4. Stuff 4, I will say this. I want to see the best player on the field. What I really love about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is the competition. You have the best player on the field. We saw that with Brian Anger, a guy that, I think he deserves more love than what he's been getting because of what he was capable of doing last season. And the fact that they had a competition and he won it outright really helped solidify that position for the Tampa Bay Bucs. What are your thoughts on that?
No, I completely agree. I mean, as far as Godwin, Godwin's going to be on the field. Same thing with Adam Humphries. I mean, these guys are going to be in and out. Again, like I said earlier, Godwin is going to be mainly your outside receiver. And again, it creates mismatches to put Deshaun Jackson or Mike Evans in the slot where they can get advantages. So it's going to open up everything. But again, Humphries is going to get playing time as well because he's so deadly in the slot. Jameis trusts him, especially on third downs. He's a guy that we can go to often. I completely agree with the competition. I mean, Godwin is going to make Adam Humphries better because Humphries knows that, Godwin's coming. Same thing with Godwin's going to be able to learn from Mike Evans and Deshaun Jackson. So it just builds that. It has a butterfly effect where everyone is building off each other. So it's going to help them. And another point with Anger, the Bucs are doing the same thing with their kicker competition this year, and hopefully that can bring someone out just like Brian Anger last year. So,
yeah, most definitely. I think that when you hand somebody something, they don't appreciate it as much as they do when they have to work for it. So, exactly. I think that this is what needs to happen. It really does. So, again, this is what Tampa needs to do. I like the fact that there are positions where the Buccaneers, the coaching staff is not handing the keys of the car over to a specific player, but they have to go out and earn that position. And that's what we need. We need the best of the best on the field, and all these other guys keep working, because if there's an injury, you can come in and be that replacement, and you can come in and make a difference as well. So I think what they're doing right now, and I mentioned this before, the chemistry and the culture, it's coming together. It really is. And that's what I'm seeing. Let's see here. And I know eventually I started talking about, let's see, I hope stuff. I hope Godwin is our third receiver. I've liked him since college. Okay. And TB_Bucks fan, what's up? I see Godwin subbing for Djax on the outside, keeping him with fresh legs. So what do you think about that? Is that a possibility?
Yeah. I mean, it's like I said earlier.
You guys corrected me on his 4.2 speed. You and Mark corrected me.
Yeah. No. No, I definitely see that. I think Godwin, like I said, Godwin's going to be in on the outside mainly because that's just where he fits. I mean, he's an outside receiver. He's a guy that can get down the field, creates mismatches with his body. He's a physical presence, can make contested catches, just similar like Mike Evans. Really good at the fade routes. So, yeah, I mean, like I said, it's Deshaun Jackson or Mike Evans getting the opportunity to go into the slot. create those mismatches, and that's what it's all about. So yeah, Godwin's going to see his fair share of time. But again, we also have those 2 tight ends. Those guys create mismatches when they go wide.
That is a scary thought. That is super scary for me.
So, you mean you can go instantly from a 2 tight end set to a 4 wide receiver set. It's pretty dangerous. So, there's options.
Yeah, most definitely. And then I posed the question, who was your 2016 MVP? And TB_Bucs fan stole my answer. And I may have to ban him for this, stealing my answer here. He said on offense, Mike Evans, on defense, Brent Grimes. I loved the acquisition of Brent Grimes. I was disappointed that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers did not go after Brent Grimes when he left Atlanta. The way he humiliated Josh Freeman to the point where Josh Freeman gets a personal foul hitting him out of bounds tells me this guy is the real deal. I love Brent Grimes. I've loved his game. I've always loved his game. You know, everybody talks about how small he is. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. He pretty much humiliated the Carolina Panthers single-handedly, just based on what he was capable of doing. So, you know, again, those were my picks. Mike Evans, what Mike Evans did, considering he was the number 1 receiver and he acted like the number 1 receiver. The fact that there was a limited offense on the other side of the ball in other positions, and he was still able to get his yards. I mean, that tells me this kid still has an upside we have not even scratched the surface on. And again, folks, if you're first time you're watching me, I'm going to put this out here. Mike Evans played football for the first time as a senior in high school. He only played a few years at Texas A&M. He cleaned up Johnny Manziel's messes because that clown can't throw the ball to save his life. But Mike Evans made Johnny Manziel look like a Heisman Trophy winner. Did he win it? He did win the Heisman Trophy. Exactly. Yeah. He needs to give that Heisman to Mike Evans. Okay? But we'll move on. Mike Evans, coming into the league, he did not know the nuances of being a wide receiver in the NFL, but he quickly caught on. Next season, he had a rough season with the drops, and every illiterate Bucs fan wanted him out of Tampa. I was the one person, the voice of reason, you know this, who said he'll be fine next year. And sure enough, he was fine the next year. Okay? So Mike Evans is doing what he's needed to do. He's progressed. He's continuously gotten better. He's a top 5, in my opinion, in the NFL, and I'll go head to head with anybody statistic-wise and it just anything about Mike Evans. Mike Evans is a number 5 at the very worst receiver in the NFL. I think he's better, but, you know, what do I know? So those are my guys. And, you know, again, Brent Grimes. I love what Brent Grimes does. I love his game. And I think what he's been able to contribute knowledge-wise to a Vernon Hargreaves, I think you can't put a price on that kind of stuff. So I think Brent Grimes is my defensive MVP. So, you know, again, you know, and that, you know, what he did to Kim Newton, you know, really, you know, was really great as well. So, did I say Kim? Sorry, little Kim. Kim? Whatever. You know who I'm talking about. The guy that has the Hello Kitty under his knee. That guy. Yeah, that guy. So, you know, I'm going to go down the line here. Let's see. Stuff 4 says on defense, Quan Alexander was his MVP, and Ali Marpet was the offensive MVP. I can't argue with that. Ali Marpet was a Division III college player, and everybody laughed at Tampa for taking him, except for the experts who saw him at the Senior Bowl and saw how he did not allow a sack on his side of the ball while he was playing. So I can't argue with this. I mean, Ali Marpet, what he's been able to do as a professional football player and how he's progressed, again, is a testament to our general manager and the scouts who said, hey, let's go ahead and grab this guy where we did.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think? What do you think about his stuff and where he says, does he have an argument with Quan Alexander being the MVP on defense and Marpet on offense?
Oh, no. I mean, I agree with those. I mean, Marpet was probably our most consistent offensive lineman last year. Probably one of the more consistent players on offense overall. I mean, the guy brought it every week. Same thing with Quan Alexander. He's probably one of our more consistent defenders each week. I mean, top end solo tackles. I mean, the guy is one of the better linebackers in this league. So, I mean, can't argue that. I thought Keith Tandy was the big difference maker, but that's just my opinion. Same thing with Ali Marpet, but I thought both those guys are well deserved of MVP. I mean, there's a lot of MVPs last year for this team. So.
Absolutely, because everybody that we've mentioned has contributed to the Bucs having their first winning season since 2010. Douglas O'Connor. Yeah, it's going to be a 4-man rotation with Evans, Jackson, Hump, and Godwin. Hump playing almost exclusively inside, Godwin exclusively outside. I can't argue that. I mean, that makes perfect sense. Just what we've seen from him in OTAs and minicamp, this is a guy that I expect big things from. Regardless of him being a rookie, I think that he's able to make those moves to the NFL level.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see here. Stuff. I feel like Donovan Smith will be like Doug Martin because he had a great rookie campaign and had a sophomore slump. I think he will pick it up this year also. So yeah, there we go. So again, here's somebody else. Douglas O'Connor, 2016 MVP. Mike Evans on offense, defense, Brent Grimes. So he's right here with the majority of us here. TB _ Bucs fan. Left tackle is not an easy position for a young guy like Smith. He played decent so far, but I'm ready for him to take the next step. I'm right there with you. That's kind of what we've been talking about, and I think that's why Jason Licht drafted him where he did. He feels like this is a person who can come out and make some big things. Douglas O'Connor, 2016, second team MVPs. Jacquizz Rodgers on offense. The running game never missed a beat, and the Bucs didn't have another running back that could do what Rodgers did as a pro in pass protection. Yeah, that's another thing that we talk about. I encourage fans, if you get a chance to watch game film, like all 22 or even just recording the game on DVR and going back and watching it, just look at some of these players and what they do away from the ball. It'll give you a greater appreciation for the game. And what I mean by that is it's easy when you're watching where the ball goes. You follow the ball. You see where the play goes that way. But what you really gain appreciation with is where you watch what happens on the other side, where the ball's not going. You see those guys doing blocks. You see those guys in a certain scheme. They're drawing protection, or they're drawing the defense to a certain side. There's just a lot of different things that are going on away from where the play is that makes a player a quality player. Would you agree with that, Michael?
Yeah, absolutely. When I watch film, I usually don't even look at the ball. I don't even watch.
Exactly.
I don't even watch where the ball's going. Usually I focus in on an area that I want to look at, and just focus on that throughout the game. But yeah, Gene's absolutely right. I mean, you don't really need to look at the ball. Again, there's a lot of stuff going on away from the football, and that's usually what makes the play happen. So, but yeah, I mean, that's a great point.
Yeah. And let's see here, 2016 second team MVPs. He talked about Douglas O'Connor talked about Brian Anger saved the team game after game with pinning the other team. Excuse me.
Nope. Bless you.
And pinning the team inside the 20. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. And and if you go back and look at my podcast, our podcast, when I have had Michael on, we've sung his praises game after game for what Brian Anger was able to do. Again, I don't think that Tampa would have won some of the games they won had it not been for the field position battle. One of those other positions, an unsung position that really doesn't get the credit it deserves. And I expect big things from him. So, yes, he was phenomenal. As TB_Bucs fan said, Anger was phenomenal. Glad we locked him up. And that goes back to the competition.
Yep.
Because it could have easily been Greg Schiano saying, hey, this is my guy. I want my guy in here. I don't care about the other guy. I want my guy. Let's rush the victory position. But it wasn't, fortunately, we have a competent head coach who knows what he's doing. We have a competent GM who can get these players in here for that kind of competition. And that's why we should say that we're fortunate to see something like that. And let's see, Anger is a top 3 punter, in my opinion. I agree. I can't argue that. And let's see here. Stuff. The 2017 Bucs are talented version of the 2014 Falcons. Better. Yeah, I see you say are the talented version. The Falcons were missing some pieces. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. When now that Mike Smith is one of us, he's a Buccaneer. I'm a Buccaneer fan. It's the Buccaneers. I don't think Mike Smith had the weapons he needed to implement what he needed to implement on defense and offense. I think the loss of Tony Gonzalez is a huge loss, a first ballot Hall of Famer at the tight end position. I think that was huge. I think they never recovered from that. I think he was a weapon that you couldn't really put a price on, or you really couldn't put, defensively, he was always getting open. So one of those guys that, they never recovered and got a replacement in the tight end position. They had Julio Jones and they had Big Mouth on the other side. But again, it wasn't the same, with some of the pieces they were missing. So let's look down here. Brian Gonzalez, Jameis is striving for perfection. He will reach excellence with that mindset. Brian Gonzalez, I agree with you. Michael, you got to agree with this. He's a guy, his mindset is to be the best ever. It's not about the biggest paycheck ever. It's about being the best ever. And we see that with the Jameis Winston.
Yeah, he wants to be the greatest of all time. I mean, and if he's got the right mindset, like I know he does, I mean, nothing really can stop him. I mean, he's going to get where he wants to go.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's see here. I think Dirk should just trust Jameis a little more too. You know what? Again, this is chemistry. This is all about chemistry. I think that they have the season behind them now. They were able to succeed. Jameis Winston showed what he's capable of doing. They've gotten him more weapons. I see Dirk Cutter putting a lot more trust in Jameis Winston this season. I think that's something that you will see compared to last season.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. I was going to say, I mean, as Jameis matures more as a player, you're going to see that trust grow, especially with the talent he has around him now. I mean, you're going to put more faith in your best player on offense, which is Jameis Winston, and you're going to let that ride. So the trust is going to grow, especially as he matures and he gets the more experience. Jameis and Dirk Cutter working more together. It's all going to benefit. So you're going to see that. So don't worry about the trust. I think it's going to continue to grow.
Absolutely. Just like the chemistry you see with Jameis Winston and Cameron Brate, It took time to develop. I think that it's the same thing with the head coach. I think you'll see a different scenario this season with the Dirk Cutter and Jameis Winston as far as their cohesiveness. I think you're going to see him, Dirk Cutter being a lot more comfortable with Jameis Winston in some of the schemes that they run. Amazement 717. I think the fact that we have depth at position battles makes our team better. We didn't have depth for those before, so guys weren't tested and they were just given a job. And that's kind of what we touched on. Yeah, you're absolutely right here on that one here. Stuff 4 about chemistry. Last year on Hard Knocks, the LA Rams, there was a huge chemistry problem and fights breaking out. I can't see that in my head. Any Bucs starting any fights, we have so much chemistry. Again, I've never, and I've gone on record saying this, if you go back on my Twitter account, you can look, I've never thought Jeff Fisher was a good head coach. I've never thought he was a good fit. I felt like he lived off of the fact that he went to a Super Bowl and that was his saving grace. And that was why they kept him around as long as they did. I've never been impressed with him. And I feel like you can't compare the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to the LA Rams as far as Hard Knocks. I know you're not trying to, but I'm just putting that out there that what you have here from the GM on down to the ball boy is a lot more chemistry, and everybody's on the same page. Everybody's trying to go in the same direction. So that's what you're seeing with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And
let me just say one thing on the Rams. I mean, just looking at Sean McVay, I mean, that is a gigantic upgrade. I mean, I already watched a little bit of the All or Nothing on the Rams, and just hearing McVay speak, just way better as far as his overall communication, communication with his staff, communication with the front office, what he wants to get done, and he's presenting it in a much better way than Jeff Fisher was, and that's just the truth.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, and when it's sad when you have a long tenured head coach and you bring in somebody else and you see instant change. I feel bad for the fans, and as this is a fans show, I know that as fans we want the best from our team. But unfortunately, when you have a guy like a Jeff Fisher that they keep around like a bad penny or something, and I don't know what it took for them to finally get rid of him, but it should have happened sooner, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So just kind of getting back to these questions here. Let's see. Even at 34, would offer Brent Grimes a 2-year extension. Brent Grimes is good. I don't know where his passion for the game is still. Just based on what I read about him in SI talking about contemplating retirement so he could play basketball. I know he's a professional, and I'm not, again, I don't want anything negative to get out there about me saying anything negative about Brent Grimes. He's one of my favorite players. I love the defensive backs, and he's one of those guys. I love him. I love what he does. I love his game. But it just makes you wonder, what is his passion? Where's his passion? Because you have to have passion as an NFL player. You need that passion. That's what drives you to do things, either that or money. And, I would rather have passion by, any stretch of the imagination. So, I want to kind of go down here. Miko Grimes likes it here, though. I love Miko Grimes. She has an awesome podcast. Get a chance to check her out. She's on what is it? Boom. I think it's the podcast. It's on iTunes for sure, but it's on something Boom. I'll grab that for you before we get off the show here. Mike Evans set records as a rookie. Since Moss, he's a stud wide receiver. Absolutely. Again, I mean, you look at his pedigree and what he's done, what he's been able to do in learning the nuances of the game. Just imagine this. You've got Richard Sherman Hemsley, who's up here crying to a referee because Mike Evans did him dirty. And that tells me all I need to know, that this guy is the real deal. You've got an elite cornerback who's whining to the referees because he got burnt by a wide receiver. That tells me everything I need to know. So again, Mike Evans, huge upside, folks. You haven't seen anything. I mean, when you guys were whining, not everybody, but some people were whining about Mike Evans and his drops. The fact that he had over 1K in yards in catches tells me that, if over 1,000-yard season is a bad season, I'll take that every time. I will take that every time. Okay. So, there's that. I went back and watched Ali Marpet's high school tape, Man Among Boys. I have no clue how he went Division III. The guy's a monster. All you had to do was go back and watch the Senior Bowl. You see what he did in the Senior Bowl. He was awesome. Jeremy Valencia, you think Noah Spence could be a starter? I am so intrigued with this guy as he's 100% healthy. I think the sky's the limit for him. He's a guy that has another guy that has a huge upside. He's somebody that I'm just, I'm keeping my eye on. Mike, what are your thoughts?
Oh yeah, I mean he's definitely. I think he's going to be a starter. That's no doubt in my mind. But again, this defense has multiple starters. Like Mike Smith said last year, we have up to 16 starters on defense. You have certain packages where you rotate guys in and out. Now again, William Golston is probably going to be the starter when the game starts, but Spence is going to see just as many snaps. He's going to be in there on third down. He's going to be mixing it in from time to time. So, yeah, I mean, not worried about Noah Spence. He's going to have a big year.
Yeah, and keep in mind, folks, he's 100% healthy. You're not going to see what you saw last season. Just imagine this, a guy that was playing where he was playing at, he's 100% healthy this year. So defensive coordinators, get your playbooks out and get your eraser ready and get you a bottle of scotch and get ready, because this is going to be a tough season for you, especially as long as this guy is healthy. What was interesting, we talk about Noah Spence. I was looking at the, every year they do a redraft. And what was really cool about the redraft for, Noah Spence and his class, Noah Spence was number 11. Number 13. I take that back. Noah Spence was number 13, whereas he was picked in the second round, realistically. So that just tells me what I need to know about him and what other people around the league think of him. And it's just a quietly kept secret, but I believe this guy is going to make a huge difference.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, so let's see here. What do you think? Let's see. Jeremy Valencia, what do you think? You think Stevie T could make the team?
Yes.
I personally do. The guy's a space eater. Number one, he's good against the run. And when you consider that you have a Adrian Peterson and a Freeman and some of these other running backs that have been drafted or brought over to NFC South teams, I think that he would definitely, if he keeps up his play, if his play is anything like his tape was in the what was it, the Rose Bowl? I believe it was the Rose Bowl. Yeah. If his play is anything like it was in the Rose Bowl, you can expect big things from him. He's one of my favorites because of where he came from and what he did to get to the NFL. I think that's huge. That shows that this guy has passion and he has determination to get to the NFL or get to the next level. So I expect big things from Stevie Tui Kolobatu.
Yeah, he's going to make the team. I mean, he's already 26 years old, so he's a mature rookie. He's already a man amongst boys. So, and the Bucs need to stop the run this year. That was their weakness on defense last year. They couldn't stop the run up the middle. Now you add Chris Baker and Stevie T. I mean, you got the horses now.
Yeah, there you go. And you got depth. And that's something that Buccaneer fans, we haven't been able to use the D word for a long time. And I mean depth. So Amazement 717, what do you guys think was the turning point game last season when the Bucs took off? I remember 97, the 49ers week 1 in game 1 was the turning point game that told the league that we were coming. Probably for me was the Kansas City Chiefs game, and a game that everybody that I could think of had picked Tampa to lose. And you look at the streak that Tampa. You look at the streak that the Chiefs had. The fact that it was a home game for the Chiefs, and let's not forget, unfortunately, the Chiefs have the same war chant as the Florida State Seminoles, and I think that didn't help them much either. So it wasn't like, oh wow, we're in a rough, hostile environment. Jameis Winston, from all accounts, was at home hearing the Chiefs tomahawk chop war chant. And I think that's what's kind of what kind of fueled that guy to him. And Aguayo had a good game too, if I'm not mistaken, just because of those guys. So next, hopefully Kansas City, I'd think twice about doing the chant while Jameis comes to town, and just do it afterward. Just a minor thought there. Yeah. So what about you? What are your thoughts? What do you think was that turning point for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
Yeah, and of course I'm going to take a different approach. That's what real Bucs talk is. We're different.
That's right. That's right.
So
realbuckstalk.com, by the way, folks.
There you go. By the way, I mean, I think my turning point was actually the Atlanta loss at Ray J. When we got blown out at Ray J, I think that's the turning point right there. When Jameis came out after that game, he says, "I'm not a loser. This isn't me. We're not this. We're not a losing team. We're better than this." And then he goes in, and we come back after the bye. The defense makes their adjustments. You see a more aggressive defense playing to their strengths, pretty much destroy the Bears. And then Jameis presents that letter to the whole team. I mean, that's the turning point right there. Yeah, just getting that mindset.
Yeah, and again, folks, this is why I said I drew a line in the sand. And if you're not with this quarterback, you're against this quarterback. And I when you're doing everything in your power outside of playing to get people on board to what you're trying to do, I mean, that speaks volumes about your character as a NFL player. And I don't know of too many quarterbacks that have done that. Brad Johnson didn't do it. Josh Freeman didn't do it. Trent Dilfer didn't do it. Chris Chandelier didn't do it. Steve DeBerg didn't do it. Jack Thompson didn't do it. None of these guys have done it, is my point here. I mean, what, Byron Leftwich? No. Jeff Garcia? No. I mean, all these different quarterbacks that we've had come through this organization, nobody has had that type of intestinal fortitude to say, hey, I want you to get on my back. We're going to do this. I want to change the culture. We're going to do this together as a family. This is what you see. This is what makes Jameis Winston special. And this is kind of what I go back to. This is what makes him special, is the fact that he can draw everybody together, and everybody kind of puts their differences aside and says, you know what? This is what we need to do. And that's what he does. Michael, your thoughts?
No, absolutely. You're right. I mean, it's just, like I said, it's all about the mindset. This team has just been, for the longest time, I mean, we were just in that losing ways. We just couldn't get out of that funk. And again, you got to remember also in the early 90s and all the way up to the mid 2000s, we had that voice on the other side of the ball. It was never the quarterback. It was always Warren Sapp, Derek Brooks, those guys were the voices in that room. They were the guys who held the team accountable. Jameis Winston, who is in the mindset of a Derek Brooks, where he's going to make sure these guys are on the right mindset, or they're going to be out of here.
Right.
And I think Jameis Winston has that kind of power where he can go to Jason Light and say, this guy ain't cutting it, and we got to let him go.
Yeah. You
it's
got Warwick Dunn. You got former Buccaneer Warwick Dunn talking about what a great person Jameis Winston is. I'm just all I'm saying is this guy is special. I'm sorry, and I kind of jumping back to the beginning of the podcast. Marcus Mariota, I just could not see him doing this. Right. Creating something like this, creating this kind of culture in a formerly losing culture and changing everything around to where we are right now. Unfortunately, I just don't see him doing that. Folks, Jameis Winston is special. I don't care what you say. You've got a guy, and Trent Dilfer, I just knocked him a few seconds ago, but Trent Dilfer saw it. He said, this kid is special. This kid is special. And he wasn't even, I don't believe he was in high school yet, but just look at where he's done and look at where he's at. And I believe strongly that this Buccaneers team is going to get a Super Bowl, just riding with Jameis.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, so let me go back through some of these chats here. I'm going to try to get through all these. Fisher was a joke to have that record and pick a fight with Eric Dickerson. That was ridiculous. I mean, he should have been fired after dealing with Eric Dickerson. So I'm a TB_Bucs fan. You're right. I'm going to say.
Oh, I was just saying, very disrespectful.
Absolutely.
That whole instance. Yeah.
Stuff Forrest. If Stevie T makes the team, he is going to swallow up Christian McCaffrey. Yeah, he's gonna power bomb him. I'm pretty sure he'll put him through a table or something like that. Something will happen. DDT, something. And wrestling comments there. But again, Dole Shemez, do you think we have any chance against New England? I'm gonna put this out here, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers have the type of team that they're in every single game. Okay. You can look at any game on that schedule and Tampa is in that game. You can't, like in past games or past seasons, we could say, oh man, Tampa's about to get blown out. They're about to get it handed to them. I just can't, realistically, I can't say that about any game. Even New England. I'm of the mindset that Tampa, with the tools that they have, if everybody's healthy, when New England comes to the Bay Area, I think New England's going to have their hands full again, and it's a possibility that Tampa could win that game. Michael, your thoughts?
Yeah, I was just going to say, the Bucs have a chance against anyone in the league. Their roster is good enough to beat anyone in this league. Again, it all comes down to execution. Now, as far as that Patriots game, that's going to be a tough one just because it's a Thursday night football game. I wish it was Sunday. I wish it wasn't Thursday night. Because when you get in those Thursday night games, it comes down to more of just will and want to. So if this team is ready and has the right mindset going into that game, again, you're coming off of a tough game against the Giants the week before. So I don't see us getting blown out if that makes you feel better. But again, it's going to be a tough game regardless. But this roster is good enough to compete with anyone, just to make sure that's clear.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're in agreement here. Buc What You Heard is in agreement. When it comes down to the New England Patriots, we are in that game. Okay, it's not going to be some 89-0 blowout or some Madden BS that you see on PS4. No, I believe that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are capable of competing, if not winning that game. Okay, just based on the talent that we have and the chemistry that we have. And, as long as we have Jameis Winston, I really believe that this team is capable of going in and competing with anybody. All right. Let's see. Dolev Shemesh. By the way, love you guys. I'm watching you every Thursday. Please keep doing that. Hey, thank you so much for checking us out. And everybody, I appreciate everybody who has contributed in the chat. I really appreciate that. Robert Jonas, Devontae Lambert, Channing Ward, roster spot. Again, that's I want to see the best players on the team compete for whatever position. So, again, anything is possible. And I like the fact that Dirk Cutter and Jason Light, they're not those type of coach and general manager that, hey, these are my guys. And, they're going to make the team no matter what. But in skill positions like what you're talking about here, they get to compete to have the best player show up on day one. And that's what's going to make this team special, is the fact that they're able to do that. Mm-hmm. So let's see. Playoff team and everything. Everybody. Playoff team has to think they can beat everybody. Absolutely. That's huge. Robert Jonas, Winston's leadership is special. Absolutely. And that's kind of what I've been going at. Amazement 717. Exactly. I can't see Mariota having this effect on our team from a mental standpoint. Like Jameis is, we most definitely got the right guy for this team. I 100% agree with that comment. That's how I feel about it. I love Marcus Mariota. I love watching him when they're not playing the Bucs. I mean, he's a talent. He is a huge talent. But just what this team has gone through historically to where they were when they were in the draft for that, after that 2-14 team that season, I felt like Jameis Winston was that guy because he's vocal, he's emotional, he draws players in. I mean, when you heard the comments from baseball players that played, not even talking about football here, we're talking about baseball players that played with Jameis and said, this guy is our leader. No, this guy is a natural leader, and it's very rare in the NFL. I mean, you look at I'm just looking at the Cleveland Browns and all the quarterbacks they've had, and I'm like, man, thank goodness we don't have to deal with all that, And fortunately for us, we have a franchise quarterback, which is the first step in putting you in the right direction in any NFL team. Derek Carr. You look at how the Raiders, whatever the Raiders they are, how they floundered until they got a franchise quarterback. Derek Carr is a difference maker. I look at Aaron Brooks before the Saints got Drew Brees. I look at Jake Delhomme, and then the Carolina Panthers got Cam Newton. And just all these different players that they're difference makers, and that's what Tampa's needed. And I think they're in a good position to do big things. Yep. And wow, we've gone 8:35. Oh my God, I didn't realize we've gone this long. I'm so sorry, man. You gotta, hey, you're the co-pilot here, man. You gotta, hey, Gene, let's rein it in here. And I apologize, folks. Robert Jonas, Mariota is talented, yes. He is, but Winston is what we needed here rather than Mariota. Yep, amazement. I agree with you. Since Bernie Kosar and Brian Sipe, oh my God, he's gone back to the fro that know. Bernie Kosar, yeah. But anyway, this is a really kind of part of the season, and live chat has really made Buc What You Heard so much more fun. Just getting you guys' comments, for me to be able to read the comments, I appreciate you guys. Everybody that's taking the time to comment, thank you. Michael Pless has been part of Buc What You Heard quietly or loudly or wherever you want to put it. And I am proud to say that this is my co-host. This is a guy that's been consistent. He's done, he comes in prepared, and I just can't appreciate this. So Michael Pless as my co-host, you may see him when I go on vacation. You'll definitely see him hosting shows, and we'll I'll be curious to chime in, to check in and see who he's got as a guest and stuff like that. You never know. So look for Michael Pless every week. That's my guy. And Michael, I appreciate you. It sucked while you were out with school or whatever the past couple of weeks, but I'm glad to have you on board, man.
Absolutely.
This is a move that I should have made a long time ago, but hey, we're here, and me and him captaining this ship, and we're gonna have a good time this season, win or lose.
Absolutely.
So, Michael, we're going to wrap this show up, man. I want you to tell everybody the next article you're working on at realbucstalk.com. Next article you're working on, and tell everybody how they can get a hold of you.
Yeah, next couple of things I got going on is probably going to be the running game, because I think that's just like people are just freaking
jumping out the window about the running game.
Like, come on, guys. The running game's going to be fine. And then I'll probably, once we get closer to training camp, I'm going to really dive into these training camp battles. There's a lot of good ones. This roster is so top to bottom much better. And those bottom players that were on the team last year might not make it this year. So
let me ask you this. Have you ever seen a balanced roster like you're seeing this year?
It's more balanced. It's way more balanced. The depth is just better. But the guys that were on the team last year, like Devontae Lambert, Channing Ward, those guys that got big snaps last year, they might not be on this team. They might go to another team and become an impact for that team. It just says the job that Jason Light has done. The talent level on both sides of the ball is way better. But yeah, I mean, follow us at Real Bucs Talk. Again, Bucs fans, we're all in this together. I want fans to become more united. This team is heading somewhere special. Let's jump on board and support them as much as we can. But yeah, I mean, if you guys have any questions for us, hit us up on Twitter, Real Bucs Talk. Check out our site. We have great stuff on there, video content. If you want to look at rookies, draft picks that are on other teams, we have videos up of them. If you want to look more at Christian McCaffrey and see what he's going to do for the Panthers, I mean, we got it covered. So, I mean, just great stuff going on right now.
All right. And as usual, you know me, I'm excited for the season. I really am. I mean, for me, the Bears game, the Cardinals game, and the New Orleans Saints game, 3 games that I will be personally at. I will be handing out Buc What You Heard shirts, and I'm just excited about it. I love doing this for the fans. I love getting into the live chat and reading off the live chat. I mean, that's all part. You guys are part of all this, and I don't ever want you to think that you're not. I get sick of all these arrogant people that won't acknowledge you guys, because without you guys, we can't do what we do. So I just want you to understand that, if you take the time to put something in live chat, I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that I get it out there. If you hit me up on Twitter, you have something you want me to mention, I'll definitely get that on as well. But for me, I'm excited. This is going to be a great season. Win or lose, this is going to be a lot of fun. But again, we're very fortunate to have a team. I look at the Oakland Raiders. I look at the San Diego Chargers. I look at the St. Louis Rams. All these teams have one thing in common: they lost their team. Tampa, you've got a team. Tampa, to me, is the jewel of Florida. I love the Bay Area, and that's, for me, there's nothing better. But again, we got to get in here, and we all got to work together. Whether you're a stick carrier, whether you're What the Buc, whether you're Buccaneer Invasion, Buckaholics, we should all work together. And we should all show the rest of the NFL that we are what's up. But anyway, that's it for me. Michael Pless, thank you, my co-host. And we will see you next Thursday. We're going to have more content. We're going to have unique content. So be sure to check us out. And remember, Buc What You Heard.